This story is about another client of mine. She comes in to lose weight, okay? But when she gets there, she realizes that part of the problem, she thinks, is that she's drinking too much wine, okay? And so here's what happened. And you know what? Nobody means for this type of thing to happen. She had been a runner for many years, and then she got injured. And so over the course of about 3 years, you know, she would have one glass of wine. And then over the course of 3 years, because she couldn't run anymore, one glass turned into a bottle a couple times during the week, right? And so she knew that that had something to do with her inability to lose weight, because every time that she would have wine, then what would happen is she would eat too much too. And there's about 150 calories in 4-ounce glass of wine, and there's 5 glasses in a bottle in general. And so, you know, we're talking about a good 700 or so calories in a glass or in a bottle of wine, okay? And so she knew that that was part of the issue. But the other thing that was a problem for her is that her injury was, she'd recovered. She'd recovered from her injury. But because she used to be so good at running before, it didn't feel good to her anymore because she was starting over. I don't know if you guys have ever had that experience where you used to be really good at something and then you can't do it anymore, and then you go back to try and do it again, and now it just doesn't feel as good because you're not as good at it anymore. And so that didn't feel good to her. So she just really wasn't interested in running at all. And so what I told her is I want you to be active for 1 minute every single day. Every day I want you to be active for 1 minute. Now, this seems silly to some people. First of all, when I tell them I want you to be active every single day is usually how I say it. I want you to be active every single day. And they get a look on their face like, if I could be active every single day, I wouldn't need to be here. At least that's what they're thinking, right? And then I'll say for 1 minute. 1 minute. Can you do it for 1 minute? Yeah. If somebody says, no, I don't have 1 minute a day, then there's a different problem. We have a time problem, right? A priority issue, okay? And so here's what happens with that 1 minute every single day. There's a couple really cool things that happens in the brain. First of all, a lot of the time, once you do that 1 minute, you'll do more than 1 minute, right? So for a lot of people, the thought of 30 minutes at the gym on a treadmill or 30 minutes on your treadmill at home or whatever is just like, yuck. I don't want to do that. It's not appealing. Not appealing to the brain. 1 minute? Sure. I can do 1 minute, especially if you're going to ask me to do it, Erica. Sure, I'll do 1 minute, okay? And I tell them, you know what? You don't even have to change your shoes. You don't have to bring special clothes with your special shoes. You don't have to get on your little thingy and your little watch and all of those things. You don't have to do any of that. Walk out the door for 30 seconds, turn around and come back. That's it. Guess what happens? Just like what happened right here. What happens by the time you walk back in that door after 1 minute?
You're not ready to walk back in the door after.
Yeah, a lot, you know, and so in my experience, I'd say less than half of the time people only do the 1 minute. So if you're really busy, 1 minute is good. You know what the 1 minute does for you if you're really busy? You made a commitment, you stuck with it, you are building a healthy habit. You're doing some type of activity for 1 minute every single day. And I call it activity, I don't call it exercise. Exercise kind of has a negative connotation. So when I say activity, I mean anything. So a lot of people, activity is gardening. Walking is a fantastic activity because it is not too stress-inducing on the body, so it's easy for people to do. Stairs are really good. They're a little more challenging, but they get your heart rate going, right? And so I want to make it really easy for you to be as active as you can in a way that's also enjoyable. Okay, so that's one thing that happens, right? You feel like you can accomplish it. It's not so overwhelming, okay? When something feels overwhelming, that sense of overwhelm really is fear underneath the covers. Is like, I don't think I can do this. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to do this. There's resistance. We push back on that, okay? But 1 minute of activity, most people are like, yeah, I could do that, right? Okay, so the brain feels like it can be successful. I can do that, okay? Then when you follow through on it regularly, what happens is that Now you're making a promise to yourself and you're keeping it. So guess what's happening? Your self-esteem is improving because now you're doing something and you're following through, okay? It's also really good for the brain because it generates, we talked about this before, it generates those really good feelings in your body. And so what happens is when you come home from work or whatever's going on in your day, let's say, for example, somebody brings a bunch of donuts to the workplace. They usually don't bring a bunch of fruit or carrots, but I mean, I have heard of some places bringing a little, some of that food, but in general, what is it, donuts and bagels and scones that are brought to the workplace, right? If you go and take a 1-minute break and walk, you're going to increase some of those good feelings in your body, and guess what? Your brain doesn't need those donuts or those bagels anymore. And so the reticular activating system and all of those good feelings inside of you, you don't really notice the bagels or donuts anymore. You don't need them, okay? So you won't eat them. It's easier for you to not eat them. If you could have a bad habit, like if you had a donut every single day, you'd have a habit there that you need to work on, and there's ways to address that as well. All right, so I asked her to do her 1 minute of activity every single day. She thought it was kind of so silly because she was actually an age group winner in her category for running, so she was really good runner. I mean, she would be like in first place for 40-year-olds, that type of a thing, right? So when I told her and kind of alleviated that stress, just 1 minute a day, she's like, I can do that. Okay, all right. So she comes back the next week and she said it worked really well. Most of the time, she did go a little bit longer. Part of the problem with being active is that first minute. It is getting yourself out the door, right? So once she did that, then it became a little bit easier. But the other thing that she noticed when she came back from doing that, because I asked her to do it as soon as she came home, and we did something that was kind of a trick, and this is why it's so important for me to work with people and get a real clear understanding of what's going on with them. She would come home, the first thing she would do is go straight to the fridge, get her wine, some type of dry Sauvignon Blanc or something in the fridge. She'd take it out, and so that would be the first thing that she did. So I told her, come in your house, set your thing down, and just leave. Like, don't even go into the kitchen. Okay, don't even do that part of it. So she would just leave on 1 minute, okay? And so then by the time she came back in, there's her stuff right there, but guess what? How do you think she's feeling now, right? She feels a lot better. So now she feels like she kind of has that energy and the good feelings inside of her. She knows she doesn't want to have the glass of wine, and she also doesn't feel like she wants to have the glass of wine either. And so it was a lot easier for her to follow through on that story. Now, fast forward a couple weeks later after that, she came into the office super happy. She said, Erica, check it out. She was wearing a pair of jeans. I said, oh, did you get a new pair of jeans? She said, no, I did not get a new pair of jeans. These are an old pair of jeans. I went shopping in my closet, and I have a whole bunch of new clothes. I'm so glad I didn't throw them away. They all fit now. Isn't that a cool story? Mm-hmm. So after that, she did start getting back into running again. And so when she was feeling better and losing weight, she felt better about her ability to kind of like, no, I'm not doing a 7-minute mile anymore, but I feel good. And so she started leading another group of helping women get back into shape, kind of, right? So what's really cool about this story for her is that almost her whole life, she was just athlete and easy, smart, athlete, easy for her. Right? And then she injures herself and now it's hard. So she needs to have this new experience. When she started helping people run again, now she has an experience, hey, I've been there. I've been injured. I've eaten too much. I've gained weight. I've slowed down. I've done all these things. And so now it was easy for her to help other people in that same position. All right, so when we are in a certain position in our life, it's easy for us to help other people too change in ways that would be good for them.